In this video, I will show you how you can use movement stick when you are incorporating any pulling movements into your practice. So for example, if you don't have any gymnastic rings or TRXs, you can still do those pulling movements if you have movement stick. And that's one of the many benefits of having a movement stick, especially if you are practicing home and you cannot attach your rings on the walls, to the ceiling, etc. So how you can do any pulling movements with movement stick is simply you place the stick against the floor. If you don't have a good mat underneath the stick, I recommend using some wall where you can place the ball against the wall. But right here I have this tatami, and this tatami has very good friction, so I can easily lean against the stick, and from here I can start doing this basically assisted two-arm pull. So if I bend my knees and bend my hip just a little bit, it's a little bit easier to start preparing my body to this pulling movement. And if I compared this to the rings, this requires much more grip strength. So I recommend starting with this two-arm version. Really try to get comfortable with the idea that you lean backward. And if everything feels okay, you can start releasing the assisting hand in this low position and then pull yourself back up using this main hand. So you lower yourself with two hands, then you come back up with only using the other arm. And if everything feels good, you can start including this rotational element into this pulling movement. So when you are in the starting position, your sternum is basically turned to the direction of the stick. And from here, I start to lower myself either with the assisting hand or without it. And the sternum, your rib cage, is basically turning away. And from here, I'm using the one arm lats, upper body muscles to bring myself back up. So I'm in this rotated position, and from here I lower all the way down. If I want, I can reach with the free arm and then come back up. So this is how it looks in front. So the easiest version, bend your knees, bend your hip, and use both arms. If this feels okay, you can start from the rotated position and slowly lower yourself. With this rotation, you can reach and then pull yourself back up. And if you want to increase the intensity, you start to first extend your hip. So I'm still bending from the knees, but my hip is more extended. So I don't do the squatting version, I do the hip extended version. And this is already much more intense. And if this feels too light, you can start keeping your knees straight. And in this case, you can even start turning your feet. It looks like this. So I'm basically locking my knees, and from here either turning the feet or just keeping your heels like in their basic position. So this version is already super intensive. So if you can do 15 reps, these easy ones, you might not be able to do more than 5 reps when you keep your knees locked and you really try to do this rotation. And of course, one of the limiting factors is the grip strength. If you compared the movement stick to gymnastic rings, it's much easier to hold the ring and do the pulling movement from here. But basically, this is the same movement that I just did with the stick. And when you are doing these pulling movements, or actually these one-arm rotational pulling movements, try to think that like in a situation where you would be in this reached position, so you are rotated, your rib or your sternum is rotated away from the hand. And now something is pulling my arm. So what I want to do is to like come closer. So I'm not like using my biceps and my lats to pull it towards me. I try to pull myself into a position where I have more strength and control over the object that is trying to pull me. So from here, basically here. So when you are doing your pulling movements, either with rings or even some machine where you use one arm, try not to think the movement as a strengthening exercise for your lats and your biceps, etc., but more like a skill training where you are away from the object and then close. So in this way you really incorporate your whole body to move as a one unit. And with movement stick, once you get comfortable with the basic movement, pulling movement, you can start doing the movement inside of some combination. For example, I can have this basic swing, and from this swing I rotate into the pulling movement. So I have this swing movement, and from here I can turn myself and then go into the pull myself back up. And if I want to include some pushing or squatting, I can start adding them. So I have my pulling, push, and then for example squat. And in this way you can do so much more once you are ready. So I recommend you start with the easiest version where you keep your knees bent and maybe do a little bit squatting with 2 arms like this. And once you feel comfortable, you start to include this rotation. You only use your other arm, and eventually with like knees straight, really try to get this upper body pulling strength, and then you can start to visiting these combinations where you can do some simple swing movements with the stick and then go into the pulling movement. And of course, if you want to add some external loads into this pulling movement, you can easily use, for example, kettlebells. I'll show you how to do it. So you want to take the kettlebell or dumbbell into a rack position. You hold the stick just the way you hold it earlier, and then from here you start lowering yourself, maybe adding a little bit rotation, and from here pull yourself back up. Or you can even add this pushing. So you have pull and then push. So this is really very extraordinary movement combination where you can do your pulling and your pushing movement at the same time. And of course, it's not optimal, it's not optimizing both gains, but you create this nice hybrid movement where you improve your upper body pulling strength, your upper body pushing strength, and you can also feel it very heavily in the midsection because there's lots of rotation. You need to decelerate. So basically when you lower yourself, you need to absorb the energy, then you produce force, and then you release the energy. So I recommend testing this. If you don't yet have a movement stick, try to do this stuff with the rings or TRXs or whatever you have there. And if you want to do this in your home training or when you are traveling, I recommend having a movement stick with you because you can put this in pieces so you can easily take this with you wherever you go, and you have your full gym where you can do your pulling, pushing, your rotational movements, squatting, you can do your stretching, strength training, coordination, speed, agility, etc. So it's really a versatile training tool, and the movement stick training is developed for people who want to practice as versatile ways as possible, but they don't have everyday access to the gyms. So I really recommend testing this. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please put your questions in the comment section and I will happily answer to any questions you might have.